Forspoken is an interesting game. Some might even say it's quite controversial. Hi, it's Emotional Devil here, and welcome to The Devil's in the Details, my Platinum Playthrough review. Alright, I got plenty of talking notes to get through, but first things first, massive spoiler warnings. We're going to be going into major plot points and character development. On top of that, the clips you're seeing in the background is some of my gameplay from the end of the game. So if you don't want spoilers, leave now. Alright, now that I've given everybody a chance to leave, let's just get this right out of the way. So, the whole, the characters talk too much, I addressed this through my playthrough. This is easily taken care of with a menu setting. You can turn talking down to low or bare minimum, where the characters don't even speak to each other at all unless it's relevant to the story or something new that you have never heard before. Second thing I want to get right out of the way is there was lots of claims that the dialogue is cringy. I guess that one's more debatable for an opinion, but I think that was coming from people taking that short clip that came out, it was like a YouTube short or a Twitter thing, and it took voice clips from the original trailer and placed them completely out of context. And in my opinion, if you watch those videos or you watch the cutscenes in the game, I think it wasn't cringy at all. I think it was really cool and just great voice acting. Okay, moving on. So this section is going to cover story and characters, and I'll try to stick to my script because I don't want this to be like a 40-minute video, but we'll see what happens. So as far as stories and characters go, starting with Frey, I think Frey is a really cool character. I think she's well written, she's voice acted amazingly, it fits the character very well and stuff. I think my only complaint about Frey is that she seems to take a long time to grow and get her character development. It's really not until the final act of the game that she decides she actually wants to help Athia and not, just run away to New York. She's always just trying to leave and leave and leave throughout the whole story, and I wish we would have gotten more of a Frey that chose to take on responsibility a bit earlier in the game. Overall, I think she's a wonderful character, and I'd love to see more of her in a sequel or the upcoming DLC that we're going to get. Moving on to our next main character, Cuff. Cuff's an interesting character. I liked the banter back and forth. It does drag on, like most games will. Once you've heard the same line, a few too many times, once again, you could just turn it off. I chose not to, because I wanted to see how repetitive it could possibly be, and it did not start annoying me until quite a way into the game. Cuff is a cool character. He's interesting, and, the banter goes back and forth. They make a nice contrast pair. I guess my biggest complaint about Cuff is, once again, spoiler warning, this will be the last one.
Yeah.
Once Cuff leaves you and reveals himself as Osiris, his whole personality changes, and that makes sense when he does that. The problem I have with Cuff is once he's sealed back inside of you, he just goes right back to being all cordial and friendly, and maybe it's because he wants to keep the peace, but now I'm just making excuses for him. It just seems odd that his character would make such a dramatic change only to go immediately right back to how he acted before. Moving on from here, story was really cool too, but it was predictable. I tried to avoid saying it as much as I could during the playthrough, just in case it wasn't so obvious to everybody else, but, stuff like how Cuff was about to betray you, that seemed very obvious right from the get-go that Cuff was going to betray you. It did almost have me, though, if I'm being honest. Right at the last, maybe hour of gameplay before Cuff betrays you, we had gotten far enough in the game where I thought, maybe he won't, Sure enough, though, it was predictable and it did happen. Let's see. Cinta being your mom, that one was another one that was really predictable, but it kind of makes sense. I mean, this one wasn't so bad predictable. You see a picture of her, they look quite a bit of minus, some few details and everything, but it just popped off as pretty obvious. That one I don't have too much of an issue with. It does kind of suck, though, that the blanket she left you with had your full name on it, because as soon as it showed the name, as Alfrey instead of Frey. I was like, oh, we were born in Athia. You know, it's, Alfrey is such a unique name, and it just sounds kind of magical. So it fits. Big complaint for me as well, something that just didn't make sense to me. If you go with the real ending, you don't get Homer back, and that upset me. You know, as you promised the cat, hey, I can't wait to take you out of this place, and we're gonna go somewhere that loves cats. And then when Frey gives Homer to Judge, she says, I'm coming back for you. And at the very last scene, we do see her in New York, but it's very heavily implied she did not actually go back for Homer. So I was like, what the heck, man? And then my final story point that upset me. What the heck is up with that transformation? The transformation's awesome, but then afterwards you don't get to keep it at all. It is such a cool gameplay thing, you know, you get to like go Super Saiyan basically. Yeah, so just what the heck, you know? So transferring from there, we're gonna head into combat and loot now. Let's see. What's my first note here? Fighting the combat in general, I think it was really good. It's fun. It flows super fast. You know, it combos well. It has this kind of Devil May Cry, you know, combat counter system. It's really cool. It does have some issues though. There's a lot of laggy animations that stop you from switching to other spells, you know, in the proper amount of time, and it can lock you up a lot. You know, if you get hit and then you open your menu L and R1 and you're sitting there mashing a button to switch to another magic type, you're not going to be able to switch until Frey is completely done with the getting hit animation. Any stun animations, you know, you just kind of get stuck there. And this also goes for your parkour. I had many times where I would be able to throw out the whip and then immediately start parkouring off the surface that I had locked onto and, you know, whip myself towards. And then I also had many times where I'd be sitting there mashing and holding the ever-living crap out of the circle button to initiate parkour, and it just never happened. Getting into the loot. Loot, I have also big problems with. It's just huge missed opportunities. It's really fun at first, and it looks like there's going to be a lot of build quality, and then you find out very quickly that all of the loot is very, very surface level. Extremely shallow, and just has no room for exploration on it. No room for build diversity. Now, moving on to my final section, I have it titled in my notes as Major Problems and All of the Missed Opportunities. So I'm going to read from my notes here. My biggest problem that I have with the game is the lack of tooltips at all. Tooltips being more details in what your build can do. There are so many pieces of loot or effects that say can give you a chance to do something, but I don't know what can means. Is it a 2% chance? Is it a 5%? Is it a 25% chance? Is it worth putting on? I can't tell from the word can. And it really changed the way that I was looking at making a build, because not knowing the percentages and not wanting to spend, you know, 20-30 minutes on every single effect trying to figure that out, you know, what the percentage could possibly be, makes you immediately start looking at loot only for certain keywords. If it says can, I start to avoid it, and it says does or will, or it doesn't have an effect on it at all, then that makes me think it's a guaranteed effect. Unfortunately, even that kind of goes out the window from something we'll get into later, because it just straight lies to you. The game has false information on top of extremely vague information. So not having percentages just causes a serious lack of exploration for build diversity, and it's a giant missed opportunity. Another missed opportunity that I think is just so crappy is that none of the loot changed the way your spells worked in any way, shape, or form other than just stat effects. Now, I'm not saying every game needs to be like Diablo 3, or that Diablo 3 is, you know, the pinnacle of RPGs, because it certainly isn't. But the way Diablo was able to change the effects of any of your moves or spells in that game is something I was really hoping to see here. Now, I'll give you an example. It would have been really cool to have an effect on a necklace or a cloak that could possibly change your water spells to have a hint of red in it, like it's blood magic now, and it could still come out the same, but the effect would be at the cost of some health, it does more damage. Or say something like a poison effect. You know, we know poisons in the game. Water even has a poison move, and it came out all purple. It was really cool looking. It would have been really, really awesome if you could have an effect that actually changed your spells to look purple, and that they had a guaranteed or extremely high chance of adding poison or stacking multiple poisons. I can go on and on. I have a million ideas, and it's just a shame that there's nothing even remotely close to that. Getting back into how it's also vague and straight up misleading, one of the greatest examples I can think of is the level 2 surge magic for lightning. The description reads, defeat the final enemy in battle with this spell. And it doesn't say that exactly word for word, but you'll notice in that description, when you get to that point in the game, it says absolutely nothing about being in a state of defenselessness. And I find that very interesting. That I don't know if that's a giant mistranslation or if it was meant to be a secret. I find it very odd, though, if it was meant to be a secret, considering none of the other ones that said defeat the final enemy in battle, you know, other surge magics, other spells, none of them mentioned anything about that or had any other effect to it. So I think that's just a huge, you know, flaw that the game generally has with a lot of things. It's vague and it's very misleading at times. Another major problem I had was how they did the labyrinth system. I think it's a really cool idea when it works properly. You know, the whole I can go into a labyrinth and I know guaranteed that there's going to be a cloak or a necklace in there, and it's probably going to be something good or something that can affect my build or give me ideas for a new build. I like that idea. I think it's really cool to have loot locked in these underground dungeons. The major problem I had, and this won't happen to everybody, but there's a final labyrinth in the game that is noticeably much more difficult than any of the other labyrinths, and it is definitely meant to be done very end game or very, very close to the end of the game. And there's no warning on this labyrinth at all. It looks and comes off as any other labyrinth. The characters don't say anything about it, and it's not locked until you finish all the other labyrinths. And it's a shame if you run into this early, because you go through and, you know, you're gonna get your butt handed to you most likely. And then if you manage to go through it, you'll have this kind of missed out opportunity where it felt like you were supposed to go in there with all of the magic, but you can actually get to this labyrinth before you've even unlocked lightning in general. And then finally, the reward for this is a cloak that has 4 spell slots, which is the only cloak in the game that has 4 spell slots, until you get the lightning magic, and then you can unlock the ability to put 4 spell slots on absolutely everything, thus making that cloak kinda almost pointless, except for the effects that it comes with, because you can use those to transfer to anything if you want those effects. Next on my list of things that I wish they would have done differently: mana and old coins. I had a huge issue with mana through the game, because there's just way too much of it. And it's the same with the coins. There's way too many of them. Now, this is normally not a problem in itself. You know, I love when games give you more resources than you need, making it so that you don't have to go collect absolutely everything to be able to purchase absolutely everything. The problem is there's absolutely nothing in the game that even remotely hints that you don't need to collect all of them to get everything until it is way, way too late in the game. By the time you realize, oh, I don't actually need all of this, you've probably wasted 1 or 2 hours of your life for sure of collecting mana. I collected enough mana early enough in the game, just in the beginning areas, to where I was able to purchase absolutely every single spell for the rest of the game, but I had no idea. And, you know, another solution to this would have been, you say, oh, give me something else to spend mana on. Well, there is. You can spend 5 mana to unlock the puzzle chest, which almost every single one of those is ridiculously easy and can be solved in 2 seconds, and are definitely labeled wrong. There was many of them that said very hard that only required 1 or 2 moves to solve, and there were some that were labeled at normal difficulty that took 5+ moves to solve. It was quite silly. Moving on to coins. The coins were really cool because you could spend them on interesting items and the shop and stuff that, you know, could grab you other build things. And then they even have a secret shop that you can find in very South Visoria, which means you need to be quite late into the game, or at least late into the story of the game, before you find this shop. The problem I have with the shop is the stuff that it sells there, it makes you feel cool because they're all expensive. It makes it feel like, oh, I haven't been collecting these coins for no reason. But almost every item in that shop ends up becoming useless. The ones that stood out that were good, in my opinion, were the pillow that makes it so that every time you rest, you get a temporary buff, and it's the same buff you could get from doing the Partha game, and you can even stack them so you could have 2 buffs going. The big problem with that is this buff lasts for, I think, 20 minutes of real life time or less before they fade away. And then they give you a compass that you can use to gather stuff while you have a fire lit, you know, and you're taking a rest. But it totally doesn't gather anything useful at all. I've tried it in multiple areas. You know, maybe I'm wrong, maybe there's a secret spot where you can collect something, but I've done it over 50 times now in preparation for this review, and most of the time, 90% of the time, I would only get firewood. I even went to areas on purpose where I knew there was good loot around that you could collect with the burrow spell or physically collect by getting up next to it, and it didn't collect any of that. I was right next to it and didn't collect it. It only grabbed firewood. Definitely the most useful thing you can grab from the secret shop was the pot that lets you mix your herbs together so that you can use one herb to transmute into another and then continue this pattern going up the herb chain and different flowers from different areas of higher and higher rarity, and then eventually it loops back around on yourself, thus making it much more easy to gather the items you need to upgrade your cloaks and necklaces. Moving on from here, collecting the cats was actually quite fun in the game, but once again causes a huge problem. Other than the trophy you get for collecting all of the Tanta's cats, their familiars, it seems almost pointless. It seems like there's something missing. If you collect them all, and you can see from my gameplay, the cats all gather around in a circle facing the center when you're inside of one of the homes. And it seems like they wanted to give you something. It seems like there should have been something in the center of that circle. You know, cats are known for bringing their owners offerings if, you know, the cats like them. They're good cats, whatever. And I can't prove this, but I have a theory that I know what the reward should have been. Because you get absolutely nothing for it. They just stand in a circle, they all face the center. It seems very clear that there should have been some kind of reward there. You know, it draws your eyes to it because they're not in their normal spots. You know, they make a big deal about it, but you get nothing. But if you pre-ordered the game from Amazon Prime, you got a code for a special cloak that has cats all over it. It looks like graffiti cats. You know, it's a very cool looking cloak, very colorful. And I have a theory that that was what the cats were supposed to give you, was a new special cloak. And perhaps they took it out of the game to make it a pre-order bonus. If that's the case, that's an absolute shame. Another point that I find kind of strange is when you lose Cuff, if you had a build that was based anything around Cuff, your build is completely broken at that point, with no warning whatsoever. I feel like this is a huge oversight. If your build involves anything about when Cuff blocks, doing counters, precision counters, or killing blows, your build's completely broken. Because when you lose Cuff, you can't even block at all. Which I feel, you know, leads right back into why didn't you get to keep Frey's transformation after you beat the game? Because during your fight with Susurrus, you know, you're in the transformation state. Frey now has the ability to block with her own magic. And it just seemed, you know, why couldn't they give that to us earlier? It's a huge oversight, you know. If you had a build that was, you know, can apply lightning, can freeze enemies in place, can set them on fire when doing a precision counter, or when you do a killing blow, you can do another one. You know, there's tons and tons of effects in the game that involve needing Cuff, and your build just goes out the window, and oh, you know, you're shit out of luck. Sorry. Alright, moving on to my final thoughts now. I know I kind of just was dumping on the game for the last several minutes. I would like to reiterate the point, though. When you're playing the game, it is really fun. It's an absolute joy to play. You know, as long as you can get over the occasional stutters or the occasional spell locking or the massive inconsistency on when you can and can't switch magic using the specific spells to switch magic. You know, the game runs incredibly smooth, and, you know, we have to also keep in mind it is a new IP, and you know, that automatically gains it a lot of brownie points. It doesn't mean that it can continue to get away with some of these major oversights, and I hope a lot of them are patched or addressed in some way, maybe with the DLC or, you know, a potential sequel in the future. But the game is fun. You know, it does have a lot of glaring issues, and none of them were what anybody was originally complaining about. Uh, Talking about price now, I did 100% complete the game and earned the Platinum Trophy, but I also spent probably an extra couple of hours, you know, collecting mana and collecting coins that I did not need to collect. And I spent a total, I think, of 76 hours upon completing the game, including everything that comes after the ending. You know, there's a few missions, and upon earning Platinum Trophies, what I mean. So if you're buying this game for the normal price of $79.99, you know, you're getting a pretty good deal there if you're looking to plat the game. It could definitely be done faster, I'd say, if you were really sprinting through the game but still collecting everything and aiming for a Platinum Trophy. It could probably be done in maybe 55 hours, 60 hours, which for 80 bucks, you know, and a really fun experience, I think that's a good deal. Paying $100 for it right now, considering the DLC in Tantas We Trust is not out and won't be out until it's rumored this summer of 2023. I don't know if it's worth paying $100 for right now. I would definitely say no on that and wait for the potential on the DLC. Because, you know, if the DLC's trash, it's gonna kind of suck. If the DLC doesn't add anything like new spells instead of just more story, it'll be, once again, another huge missed opportunity. It's my first review, so I don't know if I should do a number scale thing. I guess I'm just gonna leave you guys with my thoughts on the rest of this gameplay. And until then, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
There it is!
I don't like the look of this.
Yep. Whoa!
We're caught up in this now. Trey, I want you to focus on self-preservation.
You worried about me?
Your sudden and violent death would be rather an inconvenience, yes. Get out of the way. Do not waste any energy, I'm warning you.
Not something I try to make a habit of. Okay. Ha-ha! Yup. Gotcha. Yup. Yup. Woo. Bullseye! That's it. Okay. Okay. Huh. Huh. Okay. Yep. Ha. 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 Right on the money. Got him. Okay. That's it. Oh. Yup. Huh. There it is. Oh yeah! Ha! Yup. Yup.